Hi, welcome. Today we will talk about another Gambit. This one is one of my favorites. I already played several times on official games and is called From's Gambit. From where? I will answer you next. So this Gambit is played against the Bird's Opening. Oh, an animal? No. So, it's one of the most aggressive approaches for black. So, of course, first we will talk a little bit about the origins of the names. And then we will see the 5 more usual approaches for white. You will want to see this until the end because this will turn you into a monster. So let's jump to our video. So to start, who was from? Where was from Martin? Well, Martin Severin Janus from. Yes, this is the name from this guy. On the 19th century, they had quite unusual names because this guy has invented. This guy is a legend. Now talking serious, this guy is a Danish legend, and he is the creator of the Danish Gambit. It's one of my favorite openings too, and from Gambit we will see right now. And I think he was inspector on a prison, and he was very strong. This guy, he played a lot, so he has won several competitions, and he has used those gambits against some of the best players on those years. About Bird isn't an animal, but is Henry Bird. Henry Bird on those days was one of the best players, and he played regularly f4 on the first move. Probably right now you're thinking, oh, I'm going to see another video because nobody plays f4. No, this isn't true. I've already played several times against f4. Normally, I have the idea that normally players between the 1600 and 18 or even 1900, they like to play quite unusual openings, different stuff. And the Bird's opening is a positional approach to be played by white. So when they play f4, you're going to play e5, and they will become completely nuts with you because nobody is expecting to play against the From's Gambit. So let's jump to our video. But before that, did you know that almost 87% of the viewers isn't subscribed? It's true, it's a shame. I don't know why. I'm a good guy. I'm a good person. And I have good principles, good goals, because my main goal is to help you to improve. And how will I do that? Well, my mission is to put every day at least one video, one long form video. And right now we are putting shorts too every day. And because I work during the day and I do the videos during the night, this will help a lot this channel to grow. So please, subscribe, the red button, you know, and with that you will be giving a very big help for this channel to grow. So if you're enjoying the content, push the like button and I will be very grateful. So let's go. So let's jump to our first line. Well, first we need to see what is this gambit. Well, this is played after f4 and we will play e5. And first we will see approaches with e4, then pawn takes, and the other 3 variations, in my opinion, they are ugly because d3 is passive, e3 is isn't ambitious too, and c4 for me is a mistake. So I don't know. I don't enjoy neither of those 3 lines. But well, the first approach is e4, and okay, this isn't a bird. This is a transposition for the King's Gambit. And because of that, you need to be careful. I will do an entire video about my suggestion right now. It's called the Falkbeer Counter Gambit. So this, in my opinion, it's one of the most interesting approaches for black. If you want to attack or if you want to create problems to your opponents. The games will be always double-edged and you will be always creating problems to your opponents. And if he is unprepared, you will win quickly. For example, if pawn takes, you play queen h4, and this game is already won for black, because after g3, queen takes and it's over. You will win a rook, so it's a lot of material. So this line isn't possible. The other approach can be pawn take. And okay, if pawn takes, normally the most usual way of continuing is just to advance the pawn, but I will not defend that. I prefer pawn takes pawn. Why is that? Simple, because you can win material. Because right now the queen is attacking this pawn and you're threatening again the ideas with queen h4. So in this Falkbeer counter gambit, the ideas are always on the king side and you want to attack on h4 with the queen. Normally you want to do that with the queen or even with the bishop, playing bishop e7. You want to defend the pawn with g5. So these are always interesting approaches. For example, if white plays knight to f3, of course here you can continue with, in my opinion, this isn't the best move according to the computers, but I prefer the best move is knight f6, but in my opinion bishop to d6 will be more interesting, because you're protecting the pawn with the bishop, and after, for example, bishop goes to anywhere, I don't know, just to show, bishop c4, this isn't good for white in my opinion. You can continue always with for example, knight e7, and after castle you won't lose the pawn because you will pin the knight, and after, for example, rook to e, black is already better after castle kingside, or even knight d7. So you won't lose the pawn, the material is even, and you're creating pressure to the white's king. So in my opinion, this is interesting. Another approach can be just to, of course, white can't ignore this check. So this move, in my opinion, it's always necessary. So here, after the ideas with bishop d6, white can continue with d4 with ideas of c4, c5 to try to win material. Here, I will defend the approaches with, for example, g5. G5 is suspicious but interesting, because after, for example, queen e2, here you can even play king f8, but okay, I will defend knight e7, and after that the bishop cannot develop, and if knight takes on g5, this will be completely playable because you're winning development. For example, knight e7, and after that it's not clear how white will continue this position. For example, c4, probably it's a normal approach for white, and here you can even castle. If queen tries to give you checkmate, here you can just play knight f6 and defend everything. Don't forget the bishop cannot take because of this bishop, and if this pawn advances, the position is unclear. In my opinion, it's easier to play for black, because here you will take, and don't forget the queen is threatening to take the knight. Even if pawn takes bishop, you have rook e8 that wins the queen. So this is too complicated to be played for both sides. But yeah, if you're an aggressive player, if you want and if you like to play dynamic positions, yes, you will enjoy this kind of stuff. I think we've already talked a lot about this Falkbeer counter gambit. Don't forget, I will talk about this on a different video all the video will be about this counter gambit. So let's jump to our next variation. And well, when we do a gambit, of course, we need to know how to play when they accept the gambit. And this is the second most usual approach for white, just to take the pawn. And here, after pawn takes e5, you have the classical lines and the modern lines. I will defend the modern line. The classical one is just to advance d6. I will show the idea first and then knight c6. So if we play d6, the idea is that pawn takes, bishop takes, and for example, if knight goes to c3, we have queen check. So after pawn takes, I will not take with the bishop. It's more pretty to take with the queen, because after pawn takes, bishop gives checkmate. So I've already won games like that. But yeah, let's be serious. No one will fall into that. Just a beginner or a blitz game and your opponent is drunk. I don't know, something like that. And so yeah, this capture, it's normal. And the problem is that after bishop takes, okay, white can continue with knight f3, and it isn't easy to win this position. I've already tried, for example, g5 on this position, and it's kind of a transposition for the lines that I will defend, but it's more complicated because you're taking too much risks, in my opinion. Because here, white can defend, white even can play d4 and ignore your attack, because after, for example, g4, yeah, the knight can go to e5, and yes, bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, king takes, but you're losing by 1 point, so it isn't clear that you're going to recover material. So probably you will, but yeah, you're not playing for the win. So in my opinion, this is too complicated. Even g3, okay, you can try h5, h4, this kind of stuff, but if white plays correctly, for example, takes, pawn advances, and g4. It isn't easy, of course, but the thing is that you need to be always taking risks. For example, here you need to see bishop g3. It isn't easy to find this kind of stuff. So for this reason, I will defend another approach, knight to c6. And the idea of knight c6 is that you're threatening to take the pawn, and a lot of players will play d4. Yeah, queen h4, and you're going to win material, and you will be better, because after g3, queen takes, and if queen takes, knight takes, and everything is wrong here. The double pawns are very badly placed, and you're threatening to win material if you take the pawn on c2. So you have the initiative, you have everything. So here, black, according to the computers, have almost 1 point of advantage. So this is already better for black. So this isn't possible. What if the idea is with knight to f3? Well, if white continues with f3, you can continue with the ideas of d6. And this is already different, because if white continues with d4, you don't need to be afraid because pawn takes. Of course, here, if pawn takes, you will have an easy game because of this kind of stuff. And even bishop to f5 or knight e7, everything is playable here, because you will castle queenside and you will have the initiative, and later you will recover the pawn that you're losing. So you will recover material. So this isn't a problem. About another approach, for example, after d6, pawn takes, of course, here we will take with the bishop. And then let's assume, for example, e4. In my opinion, e4, it's normal, no? Here we will continue with the approach of g5. And this is double-edged, very complicated for both sides, but in the end I think the game will be easier for black, and we need to play with psychological moves too, because you know what you're doing. Your opponents don't know what he is doing. So after d4, for example, central moves, here you can continue with g4. And the idea is that this knight doesn't want to go here because you have, again, the ideas of queen h4. This is too strong. The pawn doesn't want to advance because bishop sacks. So, and of course, sorry, just to show here, if king goes here, knight takes. So, yeah, this is good for you. And if knight plays here, bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, king takes, and okay, white is worse again. You don't need to take the pawn. You're so well that you can play bishop e6 with castle queenside, and everything is well for you. You're happy here. So this is completely playable for black. So in my opinion, this kind of stuff are always easier to be played for black. For example, e5. No one plays that. No one plays that. But even if your opponent plays that, knight takes on e5. What is the problem? Oh, queen e2 to create problems. Yeah, queen e7. What is the problem? Yes, you have a badly placed pawn, but okay. After d4, everything is well because knight takes, pawn takes, and yeah, you can continue with everything, even h6. You can take the queen too, yeah. And if white takes first, okay, you can take with the bishop or with the queen. Bishop probably is better because you don't need to sack. For example, after c3 to try to create some problems, you can continue probably with bishop g7 because after takes, the bishop is well placed, and this move doesn't threaten anything because you can play h6. So here, the thing is that black is playing a completely equal position. You don't have any problem at all to play this. So about this kind of offlines, in my opinion, you will be always playing for the win. And of course, if your opponent doesn't play knight f3, you have always the queen playing on this direction. So about this Gambit accepted, this is named the Schlechter Gambit. So it's inside of the From's Gambit. It's a variation inside of the From's Gambit. So I enjoy a lot. We will, of course, each of these variations, we will create material about that later. If you subscribe, don't forget. So let's jump to another variation, and the next one is with c3, d3. Sorry, d3 is passive. I don't like because okay, d3. What is the goal? White doesn't have any goal. I'm not seeing nothing. So when I play with black, I have always problems when my opponents just accept material. For this reason, I will suggest pawn takes. And looks like that you're helping your opponents to develop his pieces. But the thing is that because of the pawn structure, this bishop isn't happy to be here. So after d5, you will suggest the exchange of the bishops. Why is that? Simple. Because white doesn't want to exchange this bishop because the dark squares will be a very big problem. So because of that, talking about the positional play, you will be better. So after that, in my opinion, probably queen to d2 it's more normal because if you exchange, the queen will take next. And after that, we will continue with knight, castle, and takes with knight c6. I don't like c6 because this pawn can advance and you don't have counterplay. And in this position, just to show, if pawn takes, of course you don't have any problem at all because you have rook e8, you're better on this position. And if pawn advances, you have this idea, and this wins material because if white plays d4, you can always play f3. And this is interesting because h3 doesn't happen because pawn takes, and I'm threatening, of course the knight is defended, and I'm threatening to win material. So here black is better again. So this is very good for black. So this line, in my opinion, is completely playable. And the thing is that after pawn takes, white doesn't have alternatives because you're threatening to play queen to h4. So in my opinion, this is easy. And for this reason, are you seeing? The first column is the column of the chess base, and the second one is the opening tree. And probably you're thinking, oh, but what is the difference? Well, the difference is that the chess base is based on real life games. So games over the board. Normally, most of the games are classical ones. And the second column is based on internet games. Most of them are blitz or rapid games. So for this reason, the over-the-board games have 38%. So this is low for a white statistic. So in my opinion, this is easy, and white will need always to take. And the idea of d5 is to prevent e4. So I think it isn't possible to play differently. Of course, this isn't very natural, because if white continues with e4, well, if you take pawn takes, queen takes, probably the position will be equal. But again, if you want to win the game, you don't want to simplify too much. You want to play knight c6, this kind of stuff, because again, if pawn advances, this will lead to a complicated game, because you can play d4 to prevent the advance of the pawn, or even g4. It's playable too, but I will defend this kind of stuff, and you will try to win material with, for example, knight to g6. So for me, this move d3, it's just terrible. It isn't good. It's too passive. Let's jump to e3. It's similar, but probably better. So and here e3. What is the idea? Well, the idea is that white wants to play positional. So here I will defend the same. Pawn takes, and what is the idea? Simple. Because of the fact that this pawn is advanced, this dark square bishop will have problems developing. So here, continuation can be just to develop normally the pieces, always with d5, this kind of setup. And after bishop, queen check, knight advances, and okay, here we don't need to be afraid. This is a completely normal position. I like c5 to try to break everything, because the knight is on a good square. And after takes, knights, here for me this position is already superior, because we have knight takes d4. Of course, everything is very pretty, but white doesn't need to play like that. For example, here white can try to play a Niesor-Larsen, a kind of Niesor-Larsen with b3, because the bishop won't be able to play on this diagonal easily. So again, you don't need to be worried, because d5, bishop e2, and now we continue with bishop e7, and after knight f3, this is completely playable. In my opinion, this is easier for black, because this f pawn and the king on the center, they are strange, no? Because, for example, c5, and you're controlling the central squares, and even you're trying to close the center. For example, d4 probably will happen by some way. And here, okay, knight c6. And we are playing a completely equal position. Of course, talking about the strengths of the white is the bishop on the fianchetto. So if you control this bishop, probably you will be able to win this game, or even draw. So easy stuff. Finally, last line, c4. And well, c4 is for me a blunder. Yeah, it isn't pretty. c4, why? This is a gambit. Yeah, I didn't know the name, but when I've done my investigation, my search, I've learned that this line is named double whammy variation, and yeah, I don't. Yeah, for me this is terrible, because, well, if white gives material, we take. We want to win, so we take material, and we are happy. Why is that? Simple. Because we have taken a pawn and we are threatening to give checkmate, no? For example, just to show, knight here, queen here, it's done. Here, takes, and it's done. So, easy stuff. But, of course, here, let's assume that white plays knight to f3. If white plays knight f3, we will attack like tomorrow don't exist. g5, because I can. After, for example, probably most players will continue with h3. And, yeah. Here, if you want, you can play h6. And this is like, it's different, but it's like a king's gambit. But white doesn't have potential, doesn't have initiative, doesn't have material, doesn't have plan, and has a c4 pawn like this was in English. So I don't understand what are the goals. But okay. We have several mad persons playing chess, so yeah, can happen. But okay, different approaches. I think doesn't exist. Yeah, you can see d4, but why? Why would you do that to your life? I don't know. I don't know. This doesn't look good. I don't know. I don't know. You just need to think, no? For example, queen g4, even with h3, you can play queen f5. I don't know. I'm seeing so many things. Here, d5, even d5, pawn takes, and you have the pair of bishops completely open. Another idea. Even knights. Yeah, because the queen will not go anywhere. So, for example, knight f3, yes, can happen, but knight e4, it's an idea, and even queen g4 to go to f5. So, don't forget, you're winning on material, so this is good. We need to see a last line. For example, here, some crazy guys can play that. After pawn takes, the knight can go to f3. Yeah, you're going to win. If you want, you can put on pause, but this is easy, no? This is easy, because you can advance the pawn. You sack the queen, and you do another one. So, knight takes, pawn takes, everybody's happy. Because here you're winning by 6 points. So, it's over. This is completely won. So, with that, we've saw all the 5 variations, and I hope you enjoyed this video, because this from Gambit, it's one of my most favorite gambits, because it's so ambitious. And if you want me to do the content about all the variations, I can do a video about a specific one. Not just about this gambit, but the others too. I just need to have your feedback, and this will help the channel to grow too. The likes, the commentaries, everything, the comments, sorry, everything helps the channel to grow. So I hope you enjoyed, and if you want to see more content about gambits, you can always click over there, okay? But you need to be quick, because you have time to click, or else the video will go to somewhere else, I don't know, on the internet. So I hope you enjoyed the material. So bye bye till tomorrow. Bye bye.